did it in 3:47. And I had 6 weeks notice that I was doing it.
Literally take me through the process of putting one foot down and standing up off the sofa and just go, come on.
I don't want people to think, well, just because I didn't do it in my late 38s, late 30s, 40s, there's no point. There's absolutely every point to starting now. You're going to smash this. I have every confidence in you, but just listen to your body.
Hello and welcome to episode 7 of I Can Run a Marathon with me, Emma B. How are you? It's lovely to have you with us again this week. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe, please. We are now just 8 weeks away. I think I'm going to change this, right? I'm going to stop counting down at the top of each episode because it's just making me really anxious. I know when it is. All right. Anyway, I've got something to share with you because this week, it's been a very testing week, actually. And it's probably been a lot tougher than some of those really tough training sessions because I had to go to hospital on Friday night. This is nothing to do with running. This is a condition that I've had since I've had in my 20s, actually. And it was bothering me a little bit on Wednesday last week. And I'm usually been living with this. It's a women's health issue. So I'll spare you the gruesome details. But it's a women's health issue that I've been living with since I was in my 20s. And it was bothering me a bit last week. Went to the GPs, said come back in a day, went back in a day, and then said, yeah, you're going to need to go to A&E. So I went to A&E on Friday and ended up having some emergency surgery on Friday. It's all sorted out. It's fine. I am okay. And the surgeon said, as far as they're concerned, there's no reason why I shouldn't run. It's not going to make it worse. It's not going to make it, it's not going to aggravate it. But obviously, you need to go back to the beginning. So there were a lot of frustrated tears this weekend. I think I shouted a bit and maybe swore quite a lot as well. But the fact of the matter is that this is life doing life. And, my heart goes out to people who in the past, and we all know someone who's trained this hard and then sprained an ankle or hurt their back or their knee's gone or they've got sick or something's happened. And, it's a common story and it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating when you decide to commit to something so epic and so of such huge, it's massive. And then to be told, yeah, you're going to have to, you can't do it, which is what I haven't been told. So I'm grateful, for small mercies. But we are going to go back to the beginning, 2 weeks of slow recovery. So back to some walking and running, back to the smaller distances, some lighter weights. And we will just crack on slowly but surely and see where we get to, and what will be. As I've said right from the start with this podcast, this is not about me smashing a time or beating anybody. It's about getting across that finish line in one piece. And health is everything. And if there is something wrong or something doesn't feel right, you have to get it checked out and you have to get it sorted out. And if it's not your year, it's not your year. And, there's no judgment and everybody has been amazing and you can only do what you can do. Hey, I still might not get there. We'll wait and see, but we'll keep trying within the realms of the device that I've been given. And we'll see what happens. But thank you for everybody for asking. Thank you for everybody getting in touch via the show. This morning as well and yesterday. It's all hugely appreciated. And I guess that's why we've sort of had a change of heart about this particular episode. And this episode really is about saying thank you to a group of people that often get lost or ignored or not talked about in the process of training for big events. And that's the people around us. I have been held up by some really, truly remarkable people who have told me day after day, week after week, that I can run a marathon. And I'm sure you have too. So today, that's what we're going to do in this episode. We're basically going to say who is getting you to the start line. And this is our chance. This is our episode to shout them out and send them all the love. So first off, for me anyway, thank you very much to Damo, my beautiful Damo. Damo is a person. He's my husband. He's called Damien. He's been out there on the training runs with me going at a snail's pace. Bless him. Every pore in his body wants, is telling him to go faster, and he's been there by my side. So, and he is running the marathon with me, and he's promised that he won't go over the finish line before me. I have threatened to change the locks if he does that. To Chris Evans for his encouragement, the person who persuaded me really that this was going to be a life-changing experience, and so far it is, for his book 119 Days to Go, that is full of the best encouraging, supportive, friendly, warm tips that you could possibly want, and helping me run my first ever half marathon as well that we did a couple of weeks ago. To the Evans clan, by the way, you're all amazing. Tash, you're a legend. And also to my little angels, I'm calling them, who have been helping me be not just with encouragement and friendly words of advice, but also to keep me strong and supple and sane. To the brilliant Ellie Brown and the gorgeous Sarah Eka.
This is Ellie Brown. Hello. I used to do Pilates in her basement. God, how many years ago was that? It was about 20 years ago. Was it 20 years ago? We're doing well now. Okay. What are we going to do now? We're going to film you. Okay. And then we're going to critique your technique, which I feel confident is going to be fabulous. Careful not to twist. So let the leg go out to the side. There we go. There we are. Nice. Really getting into those calves. Looking great, girl. Thank you. And a step No, we're not doing fashion stretching. Fascia stretching. We're not having bicycles. Come away from the party space. So let me in your window. Ooh, make me happy.
See, that is what happens when you go training with an elite, and I emphasize an elite running trainer. You end up singing Kate Bush songs in Greenwich Park. Feel free to give it a go and send us your videos of you stretching to Kate Bush. Or in fact, any other 80s legends. We'd be more than grateful to have those. +44 333 00 333 00. Now it's time to introduce you to another of my cheerleaders who will help you too. And she's been doing that for a really long time. Women's health coach, menopause fitness specialist, and best-selling author. Her latest book, The Longevity Solution, is a blueprint to health and fitness success in just 21 days. So if you've heard of the blue zones, where there are so many people who live to be much older than is the norm, and it's about what we can take from those blue zones and put into our life, not necessarily about living to be 100, but how to live better for those years that we have. Let's see how she can help us then over 26.2 miles. It's the wonderful Kate Rowe-Ham. You've just been a real voice of calm, I think, actually, largely because you've had such a huge amount of experience yourself, and you've kind of really dissected this on every level, whether that's fitness or nutrition or the marathon running, but you kind of, you've got a really calm insight into each part of what this effort involves, and it's been really super helpful to me, even if you do text me on a Sunday morning going, hello,
it's raining, get outside.
So we were just chatting. When did you do your first marathon?
Yes. Did my first marathon when I was young.
Yes.
Free.
Yes.
I wasn't single, but in fact, the person I am with now was my husband. 20 years.
There you go.
But we weren't married then. So I did it in 2001.
When you had collagen in your knees and your face and stuff. And
I had estrogen.
Oh,
my own natural
chestnut. Yes.
And I had time and, no kind of family commitments. It wasn't so it was easy, but also I think running for the wrong reasons slightly. And I think that's really important to say, that I think when we run later in life, we are often doing it for a different reason. So mine was very much kind of possibly an aesthetic, weight-related thing, on the pavement.
Absolutely.
All of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I did a training plan, sort of, but I made sure I got the miles in and I followed something. And then I ran it and I loved it. I loved every part of it. Like, I know people that have trained and then they've done it and they have never wanted to do one again. Everyone gets something different from it. But I really, really loved it. But I didn't kind of commit to doing another one again until pretty much 20 years later.
So this is in 20 years later. So how old are you 20 years later?
Yes. So in that first one in 2001, I can't do maths. I'm really bad. I should know how old I was.
You were in your 20s?
I was in my late 20s.
Late 20s.
Yeah, late
okay.
20s.
So we're knocking on 45 towards 50 when you do one 20 years later.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
And at that point, are we dealing with a completely different body, not just because of the gap, the break in intensive exercise, but because of what we're doing with our body at that age, how our body is responding to exercise, stress, all the different things that we can eat.
Totally different body, totally different reasons, totally, just everything was totally different. And I honestly think I loved running to switch off the noise. So again, it was different, but my body took longer to recover.
Yeah.
You know, I had achy knees. I'd had knee injuries earlier in my life from skiing. I used to ski.
Okay.
And I've had 2 knee operations, and things like that didn't bother me in my 20s. Like I say, estrogen, ligaments, joints, collagen, all brilliant. But yeah, it took a lot longer to recover. But my reason for running was different. And I know I spoke to you about my dad. He had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And so I was like, I'm going to do this. And actually the second one that I ran was the virtual London Marathon. So I did my first London Marathon in 28 in 3:47. I just wanted to get that out there, just to say it.
Do you want to say it one more time?
3:47. But this is when I was
she's not
28.
talking days either.
I was 28. I was going for sub 4, so that was good.
So
I was
fast.
happy with that. It was good. I was really, really pleased. And then I did the virtual one, and I did that in 4 hours. That was on my own.
And were you on a treadmill for that?
No. I went out. My dad lived
okay.
by the sea, so I left early before the London Marathon had actually even started on London Marathon Day. And I'd asked my family, my really supportive family, to come out with me. And I think my kids made it, maybe one on a bike for 10k and another on a bike for 10k. So still I had somebody by my side, but they were bickering and moaning. Sorry, bitching and moaning. Bickering, I was trying not to swear. But about their legs being tired on a bike for 10k.
Lol.
And I'm like, yeah.
Oh my God.
But I knew my dad was going to be at the end. And I've got an amazing video of my dad at the end of that run. And I run into literally his house where he was. And I got that done. So I was really, really, really proud of myself. And I raised a lot of money for pancreatic cancer.
Amazing.
And then very sadly, he wasn't here for the next year. But I got a spot with the hospice that had come in and to care for him at home. And I only got 6 weeks notice for that one.
I mean, listen, so, that terrified. I mean, I had 6 months notice. Yeah, about 6 months notice. 6 weeks terrifies the living daylights out of me. I mean, you have a basic level of fitness, but again, we're not in the same place as women at that age.
No, but I think that kind of is one of the messages that I really want to get across, that we need to try to look after our bodies for 365 days of the year. I'm not saying with the thing that someone's going to go, whoo, let's do a marathon in 6 weeks, but just that I feel like my body can do these things without having to put it under that unnecessary stress in that time frame of when we're committing to something, if that makes sense. So it was we're going to do this in 6 weeks because someone had an injury. And I was like, well, I'll do it. And I'll just do it. And I'll doesn't matter. I've heard you on the podcast with other people. It doesn't matter what time you get. We're just going to go and just going to do it. And that really kind of was my mentality. And actually, I was scared. I was scared that I was going to be injured. I teach fitness. What's life like after the marathon? What's my recovery going to be like? But I thought, sod it, just do it. And I actually ended up asking my followers on Instagram for people they wanted me to run a mile for. So I wrote down the names of somebody's brother, mother, cousin, father, sister.
That's amazing.
And my dad was the last mile. So I knew I had to get to that mile. And I do remember at 26 miles just going, I don't know that I can do this. I just went for it. And I hadn't really kept a track on my time. I just felt good. The body felt okay. And I just did it.
That's interesting.
And I was completely shocked that I did it. Are we ready for this? I did it in 3:47. I did it.
Really go off people, Kate.
I know, sorry. But I did it. I think my point is there.
Yeah.
I did it in the same time as my 28-year-old self.
That's crazy.
And the message there to women is you can do a marathon. You can do this at whatever age. Yes, I know we're all coming at it from different levels of fitness, but with 6 week notice, if you have trained your body throughout the year and the types of training that I do, strength training, I probably run 3 times a week, anywhere between 5 to 10k.
Yeah.
And then with that 6 week window up to knowing I was doing the marathon, I did my longest run, I think was 18 miles. And then I just was like, okay, well, whatever happens on the day.
Because I think that, if there was one thing I could go back, and you talk a lot about this, and we'll get into the book as well in just a second. But if there's one thing that I could do, and I don't deal with regret very, very much, but I do wish that I had maintained my fitness in my 40s. And, you know, put the end of my 30s and 40s and try to just maintain that, so that when the things go wrong, when I got my cancer diagnosis, like so many people do, so many women do, that your body is much better prepared to deal with it. There's a framework already around you, because when that happened to me, my physiology, everything unraveled, not just mentally and emotionally, but everything unraveled, and there wasn't really a framework to kind of grab hold of to sort of hold on to that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I think honestly, if I'm totally honest with you, I qualified. And again, I think this is really important. I qualified doing what I do now as a personal trainer when I was 41, when I got my...
Wow, really?
Yeah. So I wasn't really... I talk about doing, marathons when I was young at 3-4 times. That wasn't like the rest of my life. And like saying, we have children, for those of us that have children.
Yeah.
And our lives are taken over by these little people. And, we might have husbands and
mortgages,
and they're also little people.
And mortgages and pets and life, doing life,
And so we're never... So I think so many women come into these late 30s, early 40s, depleted, tired, a shadow of their former selves. They don't know what they're doing. They've got menopause. Their marriage might be under pressure from all sorts of things. Like life is really hard, and that is not to be underestimated. So then when you sit here and you think, yes, I'm now expected to, or not, I want to do something different. It feels really hard, and it is really hard. But maintaining that, I think, in your 30s, yes, it's great to do, because again, if we want to be factual and scientific about it, look, we lose our muscle mass at 3 to 5% after the age of 35. Our bone density peaks at 30. So we do need to do those things, but we can't, not all of us can, and I think that is really important. But just to say that if you do hit those 40s, it's never too late. It's never too late in your 50s. It's never too late in your 60s. I don't want people to think, well, just because I didn't do it in my late 38s, late 30s, 40s, there's no point. There's absolutely every point to starting now. It's never too late. You mentioned this. I think, are there... And I honestly, I still think this is rooted in female lack of ability to put ourselves first. And that's, that deeply ingrained inability to put time aside and just go, it doesn't even matter. Even if it's just, those things we're using exercise and this podcast, and I Can Run a Marathon as a kind of allegorical tale to this, which is that, for so long, even if it's reading a book, or going for a swim or buying yourself a pair of shoes, it's so deeply ingrained in our psyche to not do that. And then when you get to, that makes those decisions of trying to put time aside to train for something like that much more awkward, and it just jars against everything that you think you think that's right. Yeah, I heard you talk about that with Helen on that podcast, and actually, funny enough, when I was listening to that, I was thinking about why. And do you know what, if I'm really honest with you, I think COVID has had quite a lot to do with that.
Interesting.
Because I think at home during those COVID years, the women, because we're amazing, we were working from home, we were perhaps homeschooling, we were looking after kids, our husbands, our partners were also home working. And I think it became really evident that kind of who does more type stuff. And I think women picked up there. And I remember at one point pretty much being on the floor going, I'm cooking 15 meals a day here.
Yeah.
Family of 5, just doing the maths, everyone needs to eat. And often, and then I think at one point, and I'm sorry, but my husband sort of said, are we going to have anything else other than, or the kids going to have anything else other than a chicken nugget wrap? And I was like, I beg you, do you want to just run that by me again?
I'd back away. I'd back away and find a safe space right now.
But we did everything. I'm not saying in every household, but I feel like women we took that burden. We had all our kids' emotional baggage, because that was a tough time for kids.
It was really tough for them, wasn't it?
And we haven't got out of it. And we haven't got out of it. And that narrative has continued, that almost doing less is a sign of weakness.
Yeah, of course it is.
I am guilty of that myself.
I think as well there's a lot of leftover from the 90s drive to... And we have a complicated relationship with the phrase women can have it all. We have a really complicated relationship with that because, number one, it depends on what your all is entirely. But also, I think nobody can, like, it doesn't matter, women, men, like anybody, to try and do everything that is on your, everything that is a collective responsibility is impossible. And I think we still have a complicated relationship.
We need
with
to be
that.
more compassionate with ourselves, but we don't know how.
Yes, yeah.
Because I, and I think sometimes when I sit down and I'm like, someone's going to walk in and see me sitting down,
but
and
don't
they're
you do that? You sort of go, sorry,
yeah, just gonna take a minute.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Or I haven't sat down all day.
Yeah.
And you have to make an excuse, whereas no one else does that. They just kind of come in and throw everything around, and it's like there's no excuses. So I would love to do more kind of in that, like understand the psyche behind that. I'm sure there are plenty of people that have, but I think be more compassionate with yourself would be one of my things to say to women. Take that time to do that run, that walk, that yoga session, journaling, and something for yourself. And even if it starts with 5 minutes on like 1 week and then 10 minutes the next, and everything's still running smoothly, you'll see you can maybe give yourself more time. I think it's about just learning to let that go.
Yeah. And also there's, and I think in my head I've used this, I'm not going to say excuse, I've used this as sort of a default place to go to, because life does take over and you can't necessarily be consistent all of the time. You can't. And because there'll be a child that has to go to hospital, or and you'll spend 3 days in A&E, or something will happen at work, or the dog needs to go to the vet, and all of these things will change your timetable. And I think there's also that mindset that you kind of go, well, I haven't been able to do my yoga class this week, so there's no point. Yeah. And there's no point because I'm not going to be able to commit to it in the way that I want to. It just seems too much of an effort. It's too complicated. Yeah. It's just too complicated, and I feel that in myself, and I see that a lot as well. And so the message that is lovely that's coming out of this podcast that we're speaking to, pretty much everyone is saying it is worth it. Yeah. And just because you missed that yoga class, or just because you missed that walk with your friends in the park, you're still gaining there's still a benefit every time.
And do you know what, to you, kind of on that point, like with the bit of the marathon that you're doing, you will do this, like you will do it. So if there's a week where you're just like, I'm not feeling it
this week,
that's okay. It's not going to mess it up. And I think that is the point, that we, if we miss a day, it's all gone, it's all falling apart. You're now in like that really important phase coming up to the middle. I mean, where are we?
We're half marathons. Everyone's 13 miling,
and you need to avoid that, like that injury piece, because there's gonna be nothing worse than being where you are, and on the day, the adrenaline, your reason, your why, it will get you to the end of that line. Like, I think you need to take that pressure off yourself.
I think you need to do the London Marathon this year with me. Yeah, that's what I think.
I'm chasing a time though. I want to beat 3:47.
Are you going to do it? You are.
I don't. I mean, look, 3:46 beats 3:47, doesn't it?
Just, yeah.
I don't know. And again,
you'll be home with your feet up before I got to Greenwich.
I just don't want to. I don't. And again, I don't. But that's it, isn't it? I have an idea in my mind, but I don't want to put the pressure on myself. To doing it. And I think that's something that comes with age, right? Had this been 20 years ago and I'd had that, I'd be like, I'm going to chase that, and that is going to happen. If it doesn't happen, I'll be really disappointed. Whereas I won't be disappointed in myself if I don't. I'll be really proud that my body, 50 this year, is doing it. And that's one of my things. I just want us to understand that we can do it, even if that plan doesn't pan out the way it does. Like, if you need to take 3 days off and do some yoga and do some stretching, do it. Yeah. Don't do that run, unless obviously it was like this last weekend where I saw you ran on the Saturday, I think, and I had planned to run on the Saturday. It was beautiful sunshine.
Do you know what? It was so funny because we did it. It was a short run on Saturday, and it was difficult because I was super blasé about it, because I'd run 13 miles with Chris Evans the week before, and I was super blasé, and I stayed up way too late watching Under Saltmarsh, which is amazing, by the way. Oh, okay. But don't get into it because you will stay up too late watching it. And then I had coffee in the morning, I didn't drink enough water. I didn't stretch properly. It was painful, but it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I knew you had said I was going to run on the Sunday when it was like horizontal rain.
It was gross.
I had a little laugh to myself.
Yes. But again, you know what? I did it.
It was gross.
I did it. And actually, funnily enough, I had planned to do a long run.
Yeah.
That was my long one day. I still haven't done that long run. Okay, so that's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and that's okay.
You mix and match.
It's
You've
okay.
got to.
I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'll do it this week, and I think that is what you need to do at this stage to avoid burnout. Mm-hmm. And I think that again is one of the things that I want women who are running later on to understand, is that yes, those training plans are great, but then all of these things, rather like HIIT, high intensity interval workouts, they aren't designed for women who are going through a huge physiological change with menopause. They are blanket prescriptions for everybody, as if we're on an equal footing.
And one size does not fit all.
And one size does not fit all. So again, when you do it this year, okay, and you run it and you finish it, and then you think, okay, so what am I going to do next year? And what am I going to change for 2027?
I'm going to be your chief nutrition chocolate ball tester. I can eat Kate's chocolate balls.
No, you might get the bug.
Yeah, no, I am getting the bug.
No, but I do it again.
No, I don't know. I don't know. Ask me next week. Okay. What I wanted to ask you. Okay, right. You have talked a lot about. We've talked a lot about the kind of training that we should be doing, and you're a huge supporter of women in their 40s and 50s and 60s having strength training at the core of what we're doing.
Yeah.
This wasn't a conversation that was even happening 10 years ago about running long distances, particularly. I mean, well, hey, look, even 20 years ago, people focusing on women in their 50s doing anything was hard to come by. So, but and also as part of the foundation for your longevity solution as well, which is taking sort of best practices from some interesting places in the world to insert some of that into our life, to not help us live to be 130 years old, but to help us enjoy and live well for the years that we have.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
Yeah, it is. It's all about...
Longevity Solution by Kate Rowe-Ham is out now.
It's all about moving well independently for as long as possible, being able to get on and off the loo.
But you laugh, laugh, it's true. Yeah. It's absolutely true.
Opening a jar.
Oh, yeah.
Just little things like that.
Up and downstairs.
And it is so important. And I didn't start lifting weights again, seriously, until I really qualified.
Right, okay.
It had not been something on my radar when I'd run the marathon before. But I believe that the strength that I have got me through those 2 marathons that I've run later in life. It will get me through this next marathon, and hopefully, the preventative of injury. It is extraordinary how that strength can help heal, can help you recover, and I think it is so important that we get that message out there, because it's not about, I know women worry about bulking up. I think a lot of women sadly worry that when they stop their running or their HIIT and they start strength training, they're going to gain weight.
Yeah.
And look, there might be a period of transition where you do gain... Well, it's not even weight, it's just muscle.
Mate, you're one of the strongest people that I know.
Changes, and
your body changes, and it's also. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I have I put on a little bit of weight, but I know where it is. Yeah. I know it's on my legs a little bit because they're stronger.
Yeah,
it doesn't bother me at all because I feel better. But the weights that we're if we're just dipping into this very, very on the surface as well. One of the things I was really surprised at is, when you say weight training, it's heavier than most people think as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, progressive overload is essentially what we need. So
tell me about progressive overload.
Progressive overload.
I think I had that with my teenager last week.
I think this is really important because, again, social media has so much to answer for, because we see all these brilliant generic workouts. I do this, I look like this is the outcome. None of that is necessarily true. Yeah. If you are able, and I guess the best way to explain it, imagine you've got a 3 kg set of dumbbells and we're just going to do bicep curls.
Yeah.
And if you can...
And that's 3 in each one.
3 kg in each hand.
Yeah.
Now, if you're there and you're doing... this just looks a bit wrong. Okay. If you're there and you're doing like 25, 30, 40, or like the whole conversation, those aren't heavy enough. So you want to basically find a weight where, you're doing maybe in your first round, 12 to 14 reps, let's say. So you've got 3 kg, you can do 12 to 14 reps. Then you might do another exercise, so you might squat with something. Then you'll come back to those bicep curls. You pick up a set of 5 kg, you drop your reps to 10 to 12, and then you come back to that again on your third round of a number of exercises, and you might be lifting 8 to 10 kg and dropping your weights down. So you want to feel like you're going through mud, I guess, like with some of these exercises, like you're having to bring in your core, you're having to have that exertion. And I think where people maybe get fearful of that is that at the time they're doing it, they might not be breaking out into a sweat, and our sweat is not a good sign of a workout.
This has been so interesting. You're the only person that said that I've heard say that, and you're the first person that I've heard say. Well, when we went out the other week, and you were saying that to me, is that it's not necessarily about going to the gym and coming out soaked to the bone in sweat. It's that's far from an indicator that it's been a useful workout.
So far. And actually also, I think I saw this doctor talking about how unless you're in pain as well after lifting weights, you're not making a difference. Now, that's not true. You might get delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS, right? And that will be because you are doing something different, and your body is changing, and by challenging that and having that change, you're building muscle. So, of course, there's going to be a period maybe of uncomfortability with that. Shouldn't happen after every session. Again, that is not an indicator as to whether or not you are making change. If you show up and you lift weights and it feels hard, you're doing well. As soon as it begins to feel easy, then you need to change it, and the weights need to go up. Okay. And I do, and I think this. Do you know what? This is a message that I say all the time, because I think people, again, they look on social media and they're like, well, it looks so easy. I can't do it. It is never easy, and it never gets easy. Yeah. Even when you get to the point at which you think you've got to, it's hard because you've built strength. So every time you get stronger, it gets harder. There should never be this end kind of exercise, lifting weights and running is going to be easy. Well, I think
there's this idea there's this idea that there's this sort of fabulous place where you get to where you can run and it's effortless, and you can lift weights and it's effortless, and there's probably music in the background and everybody is ripped, and you have an amazing partner and there's violins, and you go on holiday all the time because you're perfect and life is great. That doesn't happen.
That never happens.
But that doesn't nothing that I've just said means that life is not enjoyable. Like, it doesn't, just because something's not easy doesn't mean to say
it is enjoyable, like the challenge. I think if you like a challenge. And I think also one of the other points that is really important is like motivation, because I think people are always like, okay, but I'm not motivated to. You will not have motivation until you start seeing these little increments of progress. So it's about consistency, it's about showing up for yourself, and you will enjoy it. No, you will you will enjoy it. There will be a moment where the flip just switches and it feels like this is what my body wants to do.
So listen, I'm sitting on the sofa and there's a pile of washing, and I'm stressed, and I'm busy, and I've got a whole heap of stuff to do, and it's raining outside. Literally take me through the process of putting one foot down and standing up off the sofa and just go, come on. Just like literally, what do you do when you feel like that? Apart from grab a donut and go, I'll do it tomorrow.
One of those, which we'll come to later.
Yeah, let's put them. Get the chocolate.
No, I would. Do you know what? I did that this morning. I'm not going to lie. That was me this morning, and I stood by my door, and I said, I'm going to do this. 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 And I had to just open the door, and I literally pushed myself. You can eat those now. You have like all this dark chocolate in your teeth. It's a really good look. We look like we've got no teeth.
Excellent.
And I pushed myself out the door. And I live on a hill, so I'd had to like haul my arse up the hill. But even when I got to the top of the hill, my body was like, or my brain, that would just turn around and go home. Like for even 5-10 minutes in, something was still trying to convince me that I'd done enough. Turn around, go home. And then suddenly I got to a point where I was like, I'll just carry on. And actually, I went further than I had intended to go. So in terms of just putting one foot in front of the other, just give yourself the opportunity to do it. You will feel so much better. I know it's not always easy, but just try.
This is really not easy either. So tell us these are the treats.
Yeah.
This is because obviously, well, not obviously, but you're a nutritionist. You know what you're talking about, as well as how we should be fueling ourselves as well. So what is in this little ball of
So in this one,
heaven,
we've got, actually, you haven't got a nut allergy.
I hope
bloody yeah, in my mouth. You put that ball in me, didn't
God,
you?
that's amazing.
So we've actually got walnuts in this one. It's slightly different from the batch I made last time.
The batch you made last time was just a slab. It was like eating with my hands like that.
We got walnuts, cashews, vegan protein powder, splash of oat milk, and then dark chocolate on the outside.
Oh my God.
I'm going to join you.
How long did you take these to make? So what am I getting with this then? Is this before, afterwards, during? Just for fun?
All of the above. We are now not going to have to talk about that.
Yeah, what was that? What was that?
I made these in around about 10 minutes, 15 minutes this morning.
Really?
Yeah, whilst I was also making pancakes. Really, really super easy. Chuck it in the blender all together.
Yeah.
Make the balls. And then you're done. And then dip them in the dark chocolate. Put them in the fridge. And you're good to go. And I would have these probably after a run. I mean, maybe before if you've got a couple of hours, an hour. I mean, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Fueling your runs. Again, everybody does that so differently.
Well, I'm starting to, excuse me while I enjoy Kate Rowe-Ham's
chocolate balls.
Delicious chocolate balls. Titter for the last 20 minutes. At the moment as well, so the podcast, I Can Run a Marathon, I'm starting now to take very seriously working out what works with my tummy and what doesn't work with my tummy, because that's a game changer on long runs. Like if you get that wrong, it can really mess your day up.
Yeah, it really can. And I know you've discussed it as well, making sure that you've gone to the loo like before a run. All of these things are really important. Actually, I can't remember, I think it maybe was Helen. I haven't done a loo stop on any of my marathons.
You haven't what?
Done a loo stop.
Oh, I thought you said a loose stop. I was like...
Do you know what that is? A loose stop.
I don't need to get into that much detail.
I haven't ever stopped for a wee on a marathon. Or
have you never?
No, I have never.
Okay.
Let's play that.
That's because you're so quick. You finished before everybody else.
I want to give you a top tip, actually, and then...
Please do.
This is one. When you're at the start line, okay, this is the really annoying thing. When you're at the start line, all the men, because they can, rush off and pee, right? You have that nervous wee, and you will have that, like, you might not, but I know I'm empty. I know my bladder's empty because I won't drink water for maybe 45 minutes before I've run, so that I know my wee.
These are great tips. These are really good tips. Yeah.
But I will feel like I need a wee, and then it goes. It goes off. It goes once you've crossed the line. So it's that nervous wee that we get. So it's not an actual wee. And then when you're seeing all the men run off to wee, you do actually think, God, I need a wee.
Are they running off and weeing in the bushes?
In the bushes. I remember the last half I did. It was really annoying, and I just thought this row of men weeing, and I had really, really nervous wee. But then I didn't need a wee, so it was fine. So I would say stop drinking. Yes, like 45 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then rehydrate as you go around. But no, if you need a wee, obviously, go and do a wee. But I think sometimes a lot of it is
it's just
that nervousness.
Actually. Yeah.
And then I have really messed up on a couple of times where I ate something different the morning before, and I had, I think it was a half, and I had gut ache like never before. I bought just it was just a different yogurt. I think it was like a protein yogurt rather than my Greek yogurt because I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah. It makes a lot of difference. It's made a huge amount of difference. It really is.
So play around with that and work out what, if whatever your time is, eat 2 hours before, and then maybe have the banana and the snack, because everyone's got a piece of advice to give you. Yeah. But you have to work out what works for you.
Yeah. And we're getting there. I'm now kind of writing lists, actually, because I said just after the half marathon with Chris that we did a week or so ago, it was like, right, okay, that definitely worked and that definitely worked. And going back to the I did a 10k in Crystal Palace, and when you go, God, that was amazing, trying to work out what happened then, because I just hit absolutely. That was ready to go, energy, ready to go, fantastic. It was lovely. It was really nice. At this stage then, like we mentioned, the miles are starting to really creep up. And I think a lot of people will probably be getting some niggles. The body's being really, really stretched at the moment. What are the things that we should be doing? What are the exercises that we should be really sort of concentrating on, Kate? And what are the things that we need to watch out for at this stage?
Yeah, I mean, really, really seriously, warm up.
Yes.
Okay, because like that is, I mean, I say that and then I literally do just go, warm up. And actually, I read something the other day, or I saw something the other day, which I did use, and it really helped, is that before you start these long runs, so maybe incorporate this as well into your your running practice. It does take quite a long time for your, the blood to pump, to get going, to warm up. Maybe walk for a mile before, and be ready.
Can you just say that again, please? Because I do this with my husband every time we go out, and I said, I'm going to walk I'm going to walk for 10 minutes. Like, I'm literally going to walk for 10 minutes. And he's like, it's okay, we've done our stretches. And he wants to go every single time.
No, Damo, if you're listening, let her walk.
Thank you very much.
Seriously, you might find it actually makes a massive difference.
It does to me.
Do it. I think ankle circles, really, really good to do as well, before and after, even the next day, because I think you can really feel where, the stiffness is in your ankles, and you might notice it more in one than the other, which obviously, is natural. You might have slight imbalances by the time we're this age, or any age, and do that cool down. Magnesium baths, they're brilliant. Sit in those, like, making sure after that run that you replace that. But stretching is key. And I do this again where I do worry with these long. I was like, when is your next?
Saturday.
And how far's that?
18 kilometres.
Okay, so it's 15 miles.
15 miles.
Yeah.
No, 18 kilometres. No, it's actually less than that. It's about 11 miles, isn't it?
Okay.
It's about 11 or 12. It's less than a half marathon, 18. So then the week after that is 21, 22.
And then that's the longest one, and then you're tapering down.
No, that's kilometres. These are kilometres.
Okay.
Yeah, these are kilometres. So we've got a little way to go. We've got a little way to go.
I mean, I would just really listen to your body. Like if it doesn't feel right, don't push it, because you're still gonna manage it. Really focus on that stretching piece, that maybe even that strength work. And
you've talked a lot to me about recovery. You've talked a lot about recovery.
Yeah. And
certainly, I'm finding, if I'm being honest, because people talk about the recovery run as well. So if a lot of people are following plans, I'm very sure, there'll be a recovery run in there, which a lot of people, would absolutely swear by. The last thing that I wanted to do was go out and run on the Monday after running 13 miles. So we took the dog for a walk.
Yeah.
And we took the dog for a walk. But I am finding that those long distances are taking 2 or 3 days to get over, for sure.
Then let the body take those 2 to 3 days. It's not going to affect your training. I think what will is if you push it.
Exactly.
You'll go, and that is where I think these training plans are brilliant, but they need to take into account your own body, like recovery time, what works for you.
Okay.
So just be mindful of that.
Can you please tell us about your book, please?
Yes. I mean, where do I start?
Well, let's start at the very beginning. Are you ready? Then I'll begin. Once upon a time, there was a very clever lady called Kate Rowe-Ham, and she went and discovered all sorts of fun things about longevity.
Yeah. Well, basically, it started with my mum, because
your lovely mum.
Yeah, she loves you. She was moaning a little bit about all the chat I was doing about menopause. As in, she was obviously very proud of me, but she was like, what about me? What about me? So she was 74, 75 when I was having these conversations. And obviously, her being my only remaining parent, I was like, she's right. She lives in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And doesn't live in this country. And I was like, okay, the same thing happens to her. That happens to my dad. I'm kind of like screwed because she's so far away. So I thought, how can I encourage kind of everybody to move to think about that later part of life? Because that for me, I want to run around after my grandchildren. I want to be able to do those things, like I've said, and live a very independent life. And my mum is that person. She's brilliant, but she's not strong. She's got energy. She walks lots, but she's never built strength. So I was like, how can I? Anyway, so I sort of based it on her. And at the same time, I watched The Blue Zones by Dan Buettner. And I loved that. I loved seeing these centenarians you wouldn't have even thought they were 100 doing these crazy things. And I'm not saying that I want to live to 100. What I am saying is that when I go, I want it to be, all out, like maybe running. Oh no, don't say running marathon. I don't want it to be like that. You know what I mean?
We want it to be on the dance floor at Pasha in Ibiza.
When I'm like 90,
that.
Exactly. But I want to be mobile until that day. I just want to live. I just want to live every.
It is a really significant moment for many older people. Having a fall it can be the start of a very rapid decline.
Totally.
And I have to say that one of the things, and I've mentioned it to you before, is that, you know, after I got sick and I'd spent 3 years on the sofa drinking red wine, feeling terrible, even stuff like going down the escalators in the tube or walking down a flight of stairs, I feel really vulnerable, because I'm like, I'm not going to be able to stop myself from falling further if I wobble. And that was one of the things that made me kind of go, Emma, you're early 50s and you're getting nervous about walking down flights of stairs. Something has to change, you know.
And that's it. We don't want that we don't want that to be your wake up moment when it's too late. So that was behind it all. But I think more than that, like, because obviously I've talked, as I say, lots about menopause. It's all the other little bits around it. So journaling, community, connection. And again, you know, I know you've talked about it on the podcast, but that running community and all the doors it opens and all the people it brings into your life, it is an extraordinary thing. And I think, again, like COVID made us all just happy that, I'm great, hi, how are you, on a screen. You know, the amount of people that I think possibly still feel like they're in my life or in your life because they see you on Instagram or they see you on the radio. They don't really know how you are. And so, like, for me, it's about really just stepping back, checking in again with people in person, picking up that phone.
You're very good at it. You're very good at it.
I love people, like, and that's what I talk about in the book, is find those communities. So it's not just the fitness side, it's food, and you know, in these blue zones, the way they see food and the way they eat food, you know, is so celebratory and lovely. It's not about restriction or about fear. And I really want people to understand, or to try and get to the mentality of that we've got to stop this thing of just taking things away. Like, let's add, what can we add to make ourselves feel better? What can we add for, you know, making ourselves feel stronger, for recovery, for all of these things? And journaling, a really simple thing to do. And it sounds like you need a long time in a day to do it all, but actually you don't, you know. You don't, and you can break it down. Music, I talk about music as well, like the
power. Do you run with music?
I just talk, I do when I can. Where I run and where I live, it's very dangerous. I actually wanted to go out with a cam, one of those spy cams, what are they called, video cam, on my head. I almost get run over on most of my runs, because sadly it is quite road runny. But they make space for bikes and they make space for horses, but they don't seem to make space for runners. So I do sometimes find myself, you know, confrontation, sort of, you know,
gesturing,
maybe just slapping a car sometimes if I can, if it's gone really slow. Kate the car slapper. I've been called a slapper before, but not car slapper. But where I run, you see, it is, I've totally lost my train of thought, but it is quite, it's not great, it's quite hilly, so I can't have music because I might not hear a car coming.
Well, and we talk about this a lot, and, you know, if you are out and about running ever as well, please, safety first, ladies. And, like, you know, I think most of us you have to run with one of those in.
Yes, I do. But music for me, just in terms of, like, if you're, so you sort of talked about how people get off the sofa, like, sometimes if you just don't want to, put on a cracking tune. And I don't know, I don't need to tell you, it's like telling you to suck eggs, but music it's so joyful for the soul. And I can be just whatever emotion I'm having, and I can play a song, and it might make me cry, but maybe that's what I needed to do, and that's a good thing. Or it might make me happier, or it might get me out the door. Like, the power of music is extraordinary. You would not want to listen, and I know you went through this the other day, you wouldn't necessarily want to listen to my playlist. But do you know that New Year roundup they do on Spotify? I mean, my daughter was ashamed of me.
What was it?
I had played literally the soundtrack for Wicked.
I love you!
A million times.
I love you!
But that was my song, funny enough, when I was in Squid Games, the challenge, which we haven't even spoken about. I would go into a challenge going, divine gravity. And actually, the poor people that are listening to you, you know, they come in once or twice and go, can you just, like, stop? Can you stop singing in our ears? But, like, just that, a Coldplay, Higher Power.
It's those things that, just those things that naturally nudge you, isn't it? Those things that naturally nudge you. And there will be something that we all have that you will find. And you know, okay, if you're in a car and you get slapped by a woman singing songs from the musical Gravity. Wicked. Singing the Defying Gravity from the musical Wicked. I'm afraid to say it will be Kate Rowe-Ham. The Longevity Solution is out now. Kate, please will you continue to be my biggest cheerleader and my friend and my encourager? And can I have another one,
You
please?
can have another ball, yeah.
Thank
and
you.
do you know what? You're going to smash this. I have every confidence in you, but just listen to your body.
Listen, the reason why all of us who are doing this and all of us who are either training for a marathon or who have never run before or who are training for a 5K or a 10K or a Santa, the only reason why we can do it is because of the support of each other.
Yeah.
And that's what has been so glorious about one of the many things that have been so amazing about this process. So thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Kate for joining us. That was gorgeous. All right, coming up next week, it's Dr. Paul Bryce. Now, let me give you some context to Paul. We are taking you to his biomechanics running lab. A biomechanics running lab, all right, to learn more about the science of running on our bodies. He is a very clever man that has worked at the top level with athletes for many, many years. God knows what he's going to make of my little bod. Don't forget you can catch up on all the previous episodes with Sabrina Pace-Humphreys, which everyone is loving. Skin from Skunk Anansi, who's currently in 20 feet of snow in New York. Helen Thorne, Nell McAndrew, Bryony Gordon and Ailish McColgan as well, all there waiting for you to watch and listen. And please share this with anybody you think might like it or could do with some inspiration or a bit of a pat on the back this week as well. And I will catch you every weekday morning on Virgin Radio 10 till 1 and here for the next episode of I Can Run a Marathon.